One of the questions I guarantee is going to be on the PSAT in April for you is the warm-up question. All right? We've seen this a ton back your first semester, kind of falling off the side a little bit here getting to the second semester. It's going to fall right into what we're doing right now. Remember, with our warm-up here, for the function here, f of x equals 3x plus 5. What is the value of f of negative 2? What did we do from first semester of how to answer that question out? Anybody remember?
Times 3 by negative 2.
Thank you, Krista. Yeah, what we're doing here is replacing whatever x is, or x as, negative 2 in this case. So 3, we replace negative 2 for x, and then that's what we have our calculators. Let's go to your calculators, everybody, and punch that in.
3 times negative 2 is negative 6.
And then as we do that,
I know. Plus 5.
let your calculator do it for you. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Let's not worry about the mental arithmetic. Let the calculator do it. When you take that test in April, the whole test you'll be allowed to use your calculator. There's not a non-calculator portion of things. You will have access to your calculator the whole time. If you do not, if you do not have your calculator, you will have access to Desmos on the SAT there. Well, I'll talk more about that, but we'll talk more about that later. Tyrese, ask that question to Ms. Moore. She can have more time to better explain that. Okay, now what we just did there is going to kind of fall us into what is we just say there. That was negative 1. The input was negative 2. The output was negative 1. Which is going to kind of follow us into what we're doing here today and more work with that. Okay, next part. Let's take the first equation and solve it out for x. So take that first equation off to the side. 2x plus 6 equals negative 16. Everybody, let's go take a quick minute there. And let's use your solving skills. And let's go solve it out. It's a 2 stepper. Put the phone away, Weston, and let's go solve it out, bud. Okay? So we got 10 minutes. 2x plus 6 equals negative 16. So, go use your equation skills to, excuse me, solve it out for x. So what are we going to do here first to help us solve it out for x, correct? And then as you subtract that 6 for both sides, okay, right? Use that calculator for that arithmetic. I heard a negative 22.
Then divide.
And then we do our next inverse operation.
11.
Okay. Now, with that, we get ourselves negative 11. Cool. Now, based off of that result, we're going to go to the second part of the question, which is going to be generally what we're going to be kind of doing here today on. As we work through here, we've been doing a lot of what we call substitution. The very first thing that we did, the warm-up today, we replaced the x value as negative 2, or another kind of fancier math term is we substituted. Here, we just solve for x. We get x to be negative 11. Now what does it say to do? Take the given value found for x, x is negative 11, and use it to help you solve for y in that second equation.
So 3 times negative 11.
Minus 4y. Now, where have we done that skill the last couple weeks? Yes, we did. We've been using it, the same kind of idea, when we found, say, the x-intercept, we replace y as 0 and solve for x. Jalen? Put you in line, Jalen. Or we'll replace x is 0, solve for y. It's the same idea where we substituted a value for x and solve for the other variable. We've done this big idea before. Okay, let's go and do that. Clean that up. The only difference here is that's not dropping out. When we replaced that x as 0 before, that just kind of dropped out. Well, it doesn't drop out. What's 3 times negative 11, everybody? Negative 33. So we have a negative 33 here. And again, this is a two-stepper. Today's work is going to bring our solving skills back in. And wherever you are at in terms of your solving skills, yes, there will be kind of one part that seems kind of brand new for everybody. But after we substitute in, we call it, it's not anything too much crazier than what we've been doing. It's a two-stepper. Add 33. 6 plus 33. 39.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep, that's fine.
9.75.
And then we know to divide. Scroll that up. Negative 4 to both sides. Divide by negative 4.
9.75.
Now, as Ryan's up here, 39 divided by negative 4. It's a nice decimal. It terminates. And because that is a nice decimal, you can give me that as a nice answer. Negative 9.75, or you can give me the nice fraction. I would take anything here. But do not give me a ugly decimal that doesn't terminate. So, negative 9.75 is it. Or negative 39 over 4. Either answer is acceptable. Okay? So y is that. Okay? Now, we did this on Thursday, Friday last week. The difference on Thursday, Friday was we graphed. We graphed one line, we graphed the second line, and we saw where they intersected last week. Today, as you can tell, you flip it on the other side, there are no graphs, I believe. So how do we deal with these when there's no graphs? That's what today is going to be about, is how do we solve these out? Now we're going to bring our solving skills, which we call the substitution method. So, let's jump right into it. All right, letter A. Let's jump into letter A. I need everybody's, again, focus up here. Today's the rough day. We can get through today's rough day. Tomorrow's not as bad because we get through everything kind of here today. Tomorrow we'll kind of clean it all up. All right. We're not graphing them. We're solving them out. So what we need to do here is look at these two equations. And you want to see which equation already has a variable by itself. The top equation or the bottom equation? The top one, you can clearly see it says y equals, right? It has a variable by itself. And off that, what we're going to do with that top equation, we're going to take what it equals. We're going to put it in parentheses. And what we want to do with that is, we want to go substitute it into the bottom equation. We don't have a way to solve an equation with both x's and y's in it. We can only solve when there's just one variable in the equation. We can solve all day long with an equation with all x's, an equation with all y's. So what we want to do, one second there. Where do you see the y at in the second equation? Behind the 6 or behind the 4? So I like to draw an arrow where I'm going to substitute this in at. I'm going to draw my arrow because you said it's behind the 4. Why? Because you said it says y equals. And because it says y equals, I'm going to replace this y as these parentheses. So the parentheses are going to come down and bump out that y and get substituted. Just like we did right here. That negative 2 bumped out that x. Krista said to start off today with 3 times negative 2. X replaced the negative 2. Here, x was negative 11. You told me replace the x where, right here. You told me replace the x as negative 11. I bumped out the x. It just so happens this time I'm replacing the y as a big old parenthesis. Okay? That's it. That's the only new thing for today. The rest of this skill is based off everything we've been doing on your solving equations. I didn't do anything super crazy there. If you take a look at that bottom equation, it looks exactly the same, except the y is going to get bumped out. It's going to get substituted by those parentheses. Now, that new equation you created, you should be able to solve that equation all day long. We've been working through the last January, February to solve these out for x. Let's go solve this out for x now. What are you going to do to solve out for x? Go ahead and distribute, says Jay. Go distribute. What number are you going to distribute here?
4.
Right, the 4. This is old school stuff now. If you've been struggling with the solving, this is the opportunity here to continue to help it out. The only new part was substituting in. That's it. We're done with the new part today. The rest of this stuff is all old stuff now. 4 times negative 4x. 4 times, what is it? Negative 5?
Negative 20.
Okay. Negative 16x minus 20. Okay. Like terms, Tanner. We'll get you in line here. Like terms right here. Now, trying to help you out, a few of you that are struggling. Those are on the same side. We call those combined like terms. With your calculator, you go. What's negative? Negative 6 minus 16. They combine together, say negative 22x. Don't change their signs. You just combine them. And there's my two-stepper. As you keep solving these out, they eventually go back to what we call as a two-step equation. Add 20, divide by negative 22. So add 20.
Maybe negative 1.
Negative. Okay, negative 22x. 2 and 20 is 22. And last thing is divide by
22. So negative 1.
correct. Now, here is the one unfortunate thing for today. You have two variables up there. You have x, you got y. You just found what x is. X is what? Negative 1. Just like we did last week, you found the first part. X is negative 1. Go find me the y.
That's the first one.
So, the way that we find our y is go back up here.
It's basically the exact opposite, except you would take out the x and replace it back with what is in the parentheses.
Thank you. So what Matt was alluding to, let's go back up to the one we substituted with. Y equals negative 4x minus 5. Shh, guys in the back.
I don't have any space.
Over here, we're going to do it. Okay.
I still have space.
Well, next time we'll move it more to the side, Andrew. Okay. X equals negative 1, as Matt was saying. We're going to take that top one we put in parentheses. We're We're going to drag it to the side, replacing x as -1. We just locked in x is -1. The input is -1. What's the output? -4 times -1 minus 5. Let the calculator.
Positive 4.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. So we got x to be -1. We're going to go back up to the one we substituted with. And as Matt said, we now know what x is. X is locked in. Replace that x as -1. -4 times -1 minus 5. To the calculator we go.
It's -1.
It just so happens to be another -1. Okay? Now, that's the gist of it.
Oh,
I'm not saying like, hey, that's it, but there's no twists, there's no turns. That's what we want to practice on here today.
Are you always gonna cross out the Y?
Say it
No.
again
No.
You'll put different
So why do we
letters in
cross the
there.
Y out?
bro.
now. Give me a second, I'll do the next one here with you. They're going to kind of flip flop on you, just and I'll show you why. Okay, one down. Let's go with the next one, letter B. Top equation or bottom equation? You need to ask yourself which one already has a variable by itself. Yes. Yeah, of course. Okay, one more time, I'm sorry. Top equation, bottom equation. Bottom equation has a variable by itself, doesn't it? So, with that bottom equation, we're going to put that bottom equation in parentheses. So, put it in parentheses. Just like we did that first one. So, Jayla, on this one says x equals, doesn't it? So, on this one, because this one says x equals, when I draw my arrow to the top equation, where am I drawing my arrow to? Behind the 4, behind the 7? Behind the 7, because why? This one said x equals. So I'm going to bump out the x this time. That's why the x is going away this time. It's because this one said x equals. What did it say on the first one? That first one said y equals, so the y got bumped out that first one, okay?
So now you bump, wait. So you bumped out the X?
Because the equation down here,
X equals.
correct. That's where it gets bumped out, okay? Substituted out. All right. Now, that top equation we're going to rewrite. 4y plus 7, and now I see that x is going to get bumped out for those parentheses. And now I'm back to something we've been solving for the last month here. We should be able to go right at it to solve that. That equation is not anything crazier than what we've done before. We know how to start those off. And we do enough of these here, there's only so many different types I can give you where it's pretty much the same pattern each time. When we substitute in now, go at it. What are we going to do next? There you go.
Oh, snap.
Go with your distribution property. Check with your calculator. 4y drops down. Use that calculator of yours. 7 times 3y. 7 times -7. Cool. Okay, keep at it.
You gotta add like terms.
And like terms, you're on the same side, right? Combine like terms, 4y and 21y. Don't change your signs. They're on the same side, and when Jayla said add like terms, that means just add them up. 4 plus 21. Keep the sign.
25Y.
25y. And there's my two-stepper. One more time. Eventually, these all clean up to be eventually a two-step equation. That's why, even back to November, December, we kept talking to you guys about we got to solve the two-step equation coming into us. What's our next move?
Add 29.
Cool.
That cancels out. Then it equals to 25.
Okay, so negative 24 plus 49 gives us a 25, I heard.
Which means y equals 1.
And Matt said y is 1. Divide by 25, and y is 1. Now, here's where a lot of students in the past, they get y is 1 and they stop. You got one answer, you got one variable. Did you find the other variable yet, Krista?
Not yet,
So,
but I know what it is.
give me a second there, Matt. So I got y, x comma y. I got the y. You got to go find the x. Matt, what do you got for an x?
Negative 4.
So the equation that we use to substitute with. So Jay, I'll come back to where we start off with here. This one that I use to substitute with, I'm going to use that and replace that y as 1. So I'm going to drag it to my empty space here.
So it's the same equation.
Correct. But you're going to replace y as,
1.
we just found y to be locked in as 1.
And
Go to your
that
calculator.
would be negative 4
Whoops.
as the answer.
That is correct, Matt. 3 times 1 minus 7. Negative 4. It's just a purely calculator. The input is 1. The output is negative.
Negative
4. Thank you, Matt.
No
Yes.
problem.
Yes, we'll put you in the line. Carlos, we'll put you in the line. All right. So, off of those, these are as rough as they're getting. Like, there's no twists or turns or anything like that to them. Let's go with another one here. Give you all a second. Letter C. Maybe one more here. Letter C. Top equation, bottom equation. Which one has a variable by itself? Both of them do. So when they both do, it doesn't matter. Pick one. Top, bottom. Top. It doesn't matter. It really does not matter. Okay? When they both have a variable by itself, as they both do, they both say A equals, they both say A equals. It doesn't matter. It's literally your call. So, I heard top, I'm just going to go with the top. Put it in parentheses. Now, because say A equals, where is A located in the other equation? So I like to draw my arrow and show that I'm going to replace it, substitute it right there. So I'm going to replace that A as parentheses. 2B plus 1 equals 3B. So this is the one I don't know why people freak out on. Instead of A up front, we just replaced A as 2B plus 1 equals, we just finish it off, 3B minus 1. But A is replacing 2B plus 1. That's it. There's nothing more to it. Let's sub out the equation. You got parentheses. How do you get rid of parentheses? Right. What number is in front of the parentheses there? There's no number there, but what's always hidden? So I'm going to distribute a 1. What's 1 times 2b? What's 1 times 1? Okay, keep going. You got b's on both sides. We've done these problems already. All that work that Keena and I have been doing through over last January here, leading up to get this next topic. What's our smallest b? 2b. Yep. 2b. So how are we going to move that 2b to the other side to combine it with the 3b? How are we going to move it to the other side?
Divide?
Ooh.
Wait, no, is it multiply?
Whoa.
Well, I don't know then.
Yeah, you do. How can I cross it to the other side?
Subtract.
Subtract it. If I would have crossed that line, bring it to the other side, I gotta do the inverse of a positive 2b, subtract it. What's 3b minus 2b give you?
1B.
And there it is. All the b's combined to the right-hand side. Last thing we gotta do is b's here, kick everything to the left. Plus 1, I heard. 1 plus 1 is?
0.
1 plus 1 is?
2.
Come on, Matt. That's all right. That's okay, Matt. And then b equals
B.
2.
B equals 2.
That's okay, Matt. Now, when b equals 2, we're done on the b's.
Now it's time for the A.
Now, on that A, to go find it, okay, go always back to the one we put in parentheses. Which one do we put in parentheses, the top one or bottom one?
Top.
So drag it off to the side. 2 times b, 2 times 2, b is 2. Go to your calculator. Input is 2, output is what? 2 times 2 plus 1.
Ain't it 2?
A is 5.
Oh.
We took that top one in parentheses. 2b plus 1. B we found to be 2. 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 5. 2 times 2 plus 1, I should say, is 5. Now, when you write it, your answer down here, x comma y, a comma b. We put it in alphabetical order. We put those in alphabetical order. 5 comma 2. All right. Let's do one more to wrap it up.
Yay.
No. Me too. Okay, top one, bottom one. Which one has a variable by itself?
Top.
Thank you, Jayla. Top one does, doesn't it? Okay, put it in parentheses. Now, where am I going to draw that arrow to? Behind the 3 or behind the 2?
Wait.
Behind the 3 or behind the 2?
But
Behind
they
the.
both got variables behind them.
Shh. It says C equals.
Oh, so 3?
Right. I'm going to bump out the C. Because it says C equals, I'm going to bump out the C here, which is located behind the -3. So that second equation is going to get rewritten. Go ahead and rewrite it. -3, substituting out the C. The C gets replaced as those parentheses.
Mr. Dredge.
1 second, Jayla. So replace that C now. And everything else comes down as is. Jayla.
I be getting confused, like writing it as an equation.
The second,
Like,
what I
I
just
don't
did
know how to
there.
do that. Yeah.
So when I write, you're going to take that second equation, whatever one you did not put in parentheses, wherever you draw that arrow to, that's the one that's going to get rewritten. Now, you have to pay attention to, again, what it started off with. Because it said C equals, that's what you were asking about again earlier. Because it said C equals, you got to see where that C is down below. And because it's behind a 3, that's where that C is going to get bumped out of there. Now, with that right there, okay, that second equation, look how it looks exactly the same as that top one, except that C is getting bumped out, substituted out with what's in those parentheses. Now, go solve it. You solve out for that variable D. You've got, one more time, parentheses. So go solve me some parentheses. What are you going to do?
Well, DB1.
Well, in front of the variable. Yep.
So D is -1.
In front of the variable is -1. -3 times -1. is 3. And -3 times -3. Everything else drops on down. We did our distribution property, didn't we?
Yes, now we have to combine like terms.
Gotta combine like terms. So go combine some like terms as always. 3D plus 2D. 5D plus 9. Okay. And there it is. There's your two-stepper. There's your two-stepper. Subtract 9 to both sides. Four minus 9. Yep. Divide both sides by 5. And -5, -1. -5 divided by 5 is -1. Now again, you found yourself your variable D. Go find variable C. Go always back up to the one you put in parentheses. Which one was that? The top equation or the bottom equation? So drag that top one off to the side. It said C equals -D minus 3. Remember, you're replacing wherever that D is as -1. So drag it to the side. -1 minus 3. Go to your calculator, punch it in. Negative parentheses -1 minus 3. I think I heard somebody say -2.
Why is it on the inside and outside?
Because it's, whoops, hold on. Where'd it go?
It's right there.
Thank you. Well, so I hit the right button. All right, because it says -D. There's a negative out front. D got replaced as -1. There's 2 negatives there. So, -1 minus 3. And when you plug that into your calculator, -1. D is -3. No, wait, no, sorry. It was -2.
So C is negative 2?
C is -2. Alphabetically is how we write the solution. Alphabetically is how we'll write the solutions. X comma Y, A comma B, E comma F, C comma D, whatever the case is, what we're doing. We write them alphabetically. Jayla,
Right, back one.
give us a second, we'll put you in line. All right, that's where